Anxiety was just running my life.
I was terrified of public speaking. Even doing this would be inconceivable.
Literally, my throat would close. I could barely get the words out. It was ridiculous. It was embarrassing and humiliating. I used to lie to get out of situations. I couldn't even give oral book reports when I was a little kid.
I would always jump up in front of groups, but I was always a little uncomfortable. I just wasn't in my power.
I ended up having a lot of professional opportunities pass me by.
I could stand here, but my voice would quaver, and then I would hear it shake, and then then the negative feedback loop, spiraling down to the abyss. Right? I couldn't breathe, and I was trying to go fast, and they're like, no, and then I want to run away, and then my head shakes, and the vibration. Anyone know that? Anyone know that?
Welcome. I'm glad you're here. This work is about attuning to audiences. So you're going to witness me relating and speaking to a group of people who are familiar with my work in speaking circles. Thank you for being here to provide each other and me with the kind of listening that makes everyone smarter. And we're going to have some of these experienced folks in this work get up and talk about what brought them to this work, what they've learned, and what they may have to tell you about it that might be useful in your path. For me, I had all my early public speaking experiences around the dinner table, night after night, year after year, with a dad sitting right there who alternately tuned me out and treated me with contempt. And a brother sitting right there who mercifully teased me, ridiculed, mocked me. And a mom sitting right across from me who pitied me. And she didn't have her voice either. She could not speak up. It was not safe for her to speak up. She was stifled in the house because it wasn't safe for her to speak up. To be fair, my family members, they were too overwhelmed, stressed out to really see me, much less listen to me. So of course I grew up not feeling that anything worth saying. None was safe to speak out. I had nothing to say that anybody could care to hear. And of course I grew up with this horrible case of stage fright, stage terror.
I come from a background of, I had a really scary mom growing up. A mom who's, despite all her best intentions, her eyes were a scary place to be. There was a lot of anger, there was a lot of judgment. There was no ground for me as a kid to sort of feel like, oh, I'm okay, or I'm loved, and I don't need to be something other than I am.
For me, it was grade school experiences where I was asked to do an oral report, which was, or it didn't go well, or I can do, there's like 3 or 4 or 5 specific, I could call them experiences, but really they were traumas. And those went in so deep and at such an early formative age in school when I cared what people thought, and I think it's natural for kids to care how they fit into the social order. And that made it impossible for me for my entire adult life. And I avoided public speaking.
I grew up with a very severe learning disability. When I was the age of 8 or 9 years old, they told my mother that I had a lot of learning challenges, and that for the time I was 9 up until the time I was 23 years old, I was constantly texted by psychologists to tell me that I was literally stupid. And really, ultimately, the issue for me was that I just think differently than other human beings. But our education system doesn't allow for people at that time when I was growing up, for people like myself to think differently. There was no space for me in our education system. So pretty much my whole adult life, I grew up thinking that I was not smart enough than everyone else, and I didn't speak up. My posture was like this. I really held myself back, and as a result, I ended up just being very quiet. I never wanted to be the center of attention in anything that I did.
Now, many years of therapy and spiritual practices got me some access to some inner peace and inner safety, but in front of groups, I still projected my family onto any audience, and wasn't able to function. I was the deer in the headlights guy until my late 40s. It was really humiliating. I tried Toastmasters and a bunch of other things to help me power through so that I could get my voice out there, and nothing worked. It took me years and years to realize that the problem was that I was approaching the problem from the wrong end. See, I had assumed that what I had was a block in speaking, in getting out there, and the only way through it was to punch and power my way through. But what the revelation finally was, years later, was that the block is not about speaking. The block is about allowing in the available listening. And that shift transformed my relationships with groups completely and led to my life work, helping others ease past public speaking anxiety so that they in the world could get in front of groups and come into what we call relational presence with any audience. This shift in making the listening the most important intelligent life in the room is also why the first guideline in a speaking circle is to the listeners to be available in such a way that the person up front can relax into the listening. And the second guideline is to the person up front to avail themselves of this expansive listening by being with one person at a time. Distinctly one person at a time. Always and only with one person at a time, and seeing them so they feel seen. Now that seems like an impossible instruction to a lot of people right away. How can I look at you? How can I be with you? How can I really see you at the same time as I'm figuring out what I want to say? Well, remember, the block is not about speaking. The block is in receiving the listening. So your work up in front of the room is to find a way to discover how to attune to the listening before you speak, without thinking of what to say. And when you can make that shift to the priority of the listening being the most important thing in the room instead of your speaking, big shift happens. And the pace of your speaking and your thinking naturally harmonizes with the listening in the room. You flow. That's the promise.
So when I first came to a circle, to my amazement, I was told asked to, I was never told, I was asked to do two things in your first group. Stand in front of the room, and there's not a small group like this, but I think it was 8 people plus Lee, so 9 people looking intently at me. And Jack, we want you to do 2 things. One is, don't go up here or down there, or better yet, he didn't say don't. Again, it's an invitation, just find a pair of eyes and speak to one person. Always be with one person. Don't go down here, don't go in and hide and think about what I want to say, and then open up and quickly say it really quickly before I lose my breath. God, oh my God, no. Just find one pair of eyes. And then the second thing you do in a first speaking circle is guess what? Speak, most people say. Nope, you don't need to speak at a speaking circle. Can you guess what it is? It's breathe. Breathe. So a speaking circle where you learn to public speak, whatever that means, is looking at somebody, allowing them to look at you, and breathe. And not just experientially, but also intellectually. I got it. Like, oh my God, it's just about you're okay. You can stand in front of people and it's not a bad experience and they won't judge you because we're all in this together. In fact, people in the audiences I've learned actually want to be comfortable. They want the speaker to be comfortable. They're actually on your side in most every case. So that was a revelation.
I happened to find this work. And that's when I realized what I'd been doing wrong this whole time. I wasn't really allowing other people in. I was just putting a block between me and everybody else. I was projecting at them and they were taking me in, but I wasn't seeing them. I wasn't getting any feeling I was really speaking to them. So in the middle, I would lose concentration and I would get nervous. And I found that once I started really allowing people to come in to me and really relating to people on an energetic level, I just opened up, I expanded. Suddenly, I wasn't scared anymore. My throat didn't close up anymore. I felt I have something to say, and people here are really interested in hearing it. And I could feel the acceptance and the relationships going on between people, and it's been incredibly rewarding, and it's influenced every part of my life.
And there is really something about the eyes. You know, there's a lot to it. There's a lot of pieces to Speaking Circle, but I will say that being nourished by this eye gaze, being met with whatever's coming up, there's something I'm still learning to understand. I'm still understanding what it is that's so healing about it, but it is really healing. There's a lot of people that don't walk through the world feeling safe to meet other people's eyes and really hold that, like be with someone, fully with someone. And this is the only place I've found where people not only love to do that, they give it willingly, givingly, abundantly. Yeah.
So now you here have been giving me this kind of listening, this soft gaze of kind regard, not going, just being here expansively for me. And I've been availing myself of your listening by being with one of you at a time. Not trying to connect, but allowing the natural connection of human beings to reveal. And when I have anxiety, not trying to cover it up, not trying to get rid of it, but feeling it, seeing it, breathing it, allowing it, and letting it pass.
Yeah, I was not speaking. I was hiding. I guess if I wasn't oriented towards pleasure when connecting with people, I was really oriented towards defending and hiding. And that was really my safe place for years and years growing up and to adulthood. I credit therapy, but I credit Speaking Circles a lot. I practiced this one-on-one with a therapist, and that was wonderful and beautiful and healing in its own right, in its own way. And it's another thing to stand in front of a group of people and have that same experience, to really have that confirmed. Oh, this is real. This isn't this one exceptional person who's amazing and just lovely. Actually, no, this is a real thing that happens with groups of people, and it's something I can trust. It's real. I needed that. I needed that confirmation. People want our complexity. People want our authenticity. They want our vulnerability. I did not know that.
I think the real deep understanding that I gained, the most valuable lesson that I gained from this work, is that we're all the same underneath. That we're all part of the human family. And once I really realized that and really felt that and allowed that to come in, it has transformed my life and certainly transformed my speaking ability.
I devised this method to get over severe stage fright because that was my issue. But over the years, what we found is that this same process works wonders, even for experienced speakers who just want to be more naturally authentic. And the question is, how does the same exact process work for such a range of different needs? For instance, you could have a speaking circle where sitting right next to each other is a newcomer who's scared, never spoken out in the group in their life, sitting next to a professional speaker. Why does the same process work for everyone? It's because this process touches on the root cause of almost all performance anxiety, stage fright, self-consciousness, authenticity impairment. And that root cause goes to how we were listened to as children, or not listened to, how our voice was valued or not valued.
This worked differently for me because it really tackled the beliefs that I had about myself. Because I think like many people out there in the world, they think it's about speaking. And I think for me, it helped me see like just the kind of person that I am. I had a very particular belief around who I was and what I was doing in the world. And that's why the other stuff wasn't working, because it wasn't getting down to the root cause. It was just getting to the surface of things.
So what I realized when I came to those groups, and I could stand in front of 8 or 10 people, breathe, not speak if words weren't coming to me, speak if they were. What I found was that the experiences of being mirrored. Now, mirroring is a childhood need. Kids need to be mirrored adequately. They need to be mirrored for their emotional truth, for their somatic truth, for, of course, their intellectual truth, for their hopes and dreams. Mirroring, negative mirroring, toxic mirroring is one of the great forces of personality corruption. It's one of the great abusers in life. Now, we get mirrored by not only our parents, but our brothers and sisters and aunties and uncles and all of our friends. And all of us, myself included, have catalogs of experience of toxic or negative or pernicious or jealous, envious, ugly mirroring. And what I realized coming to those groups and standing there week after week in front of people who were looking, accepting and loving, whatever was going on in their hearts, they might have had other kinds of feelings about me, but the presentation was love and acceptance. And what I took from that is nothing less than a corrective emotional experience.
These experiences actually rewire our brains. My brain was wired at an early age to associate being seen with contraction and anxiety. But through these experiences, this practice, I built new, very powerful neural pathways that associate being seen with pleasure and expansion.
The old programming was I had to speak quickly because I'm from New York and that's the way we speak and that's the way my family spoke. We all speak like this, we're illiterate, so we have to be very quick. Try that one on. And then the other rule was it has to be perfect. So, I'm just screwed from the beginning. Fast and perfect with no practice. Try that. So all that had to come unwound. A whole new set of rules for speaking.
The biggest critic is really yourself, and that everyone else out there is not judging you. They're actually supporting you. And ultimately, I think that people want the best for other people, and that you can, in fact, achieve that person that you aspire to. You just have to be patient with yourself.
We talk about neuroplasticity and rewiring our brain, rewiring our nervous system, but it's our body as much. For me, it's my body. I hear you, body. I see like you're sensing danger, but no, it's working with the body sensations and letting the body know it's safe as much as the mind and the heart, and it's sort of really integrating all the systems together. That's what Speaking Circle has done for me.
I talk about the pleasure principle of public speaking, because when you can tap into the listening is what's important in the room, and you can tap into the pleasure of their company. And then from that pleasure, from that joy, that allows us to expand our essence, our sense of self, to discover what we really think, what we really know, what's going on within us. Expand our own sense of who we are in the world.
And this work, this repeated experience of getting up in front of people, falling on my face sometimes, having nothing to say, having lots to say, and always, 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 undeniably, feeling loved and accepted, healed me.
As a result of this work, I was able to quit my job, gain a sense of confidence through this work and my spiritual practice and other forms of understanding, mindfulness, And now I'm in a new situation as a director in a massive company, which was very competitive to get this job. And I was able to convince 10 people who are executives of companies to hire me. And it was because of this concept of relational presence, the ability to stand there, whether it's in front of one person or 10 people, and just to be able to connect.
Since starting Speaking Circles, I have spoken at my sister's wedding of 150 people. I've spoke at my grandfather's funeral, his memorial, which was like 200 people. That's something I would not have considered or even thought possible before Speaking Circles. But most importantly, I think there's just been I've regained, or maybe for the first time, had a sense of self-trust, letting myself be with whatever comes up. That's new. Instead of always judging, shaming, blaming some parts of myself if they would come up.
In part of my current job, I need to give presentations to the board of directors and board of trustees and people like that who maybe are not quite as friendly as what I experience in Speaking Circles. But what I learned, again, is still relating with those people and to those people. It's amazing. I was still afraid to get up in front of them, but now I'm beginning to see that I'm really talking to each individual person. And I'm allowing them to come in. And it's made a huge difference. I'm much more confident. I can answer their questions. I learn to take a deep breath when I get a question that maybe I don't quite understand or I'm less comfortable answering. And it's been an amazing transformation.
Now, you might not have such severe stage fright, but whatever issues you have about owning your voice, I'm sure you can find some parallels. Whatever brings you here, the answer, the healing, is corrective, positive experiences in an enriched listening environment. And that's what Speaking Circles are for.
To go from not being in front of people at all to wanting to do TED Talks and I host photo shoots where 150 people show up and I'm organizing them and speaking with them and cheering them on, and I can't believe that guy up there is me. So the gift of learning to like yourself more, or accept yourself, or, God forbid, love yourself. Has that impacted my life? Yeah.
It's really not public speaking, it's public relating. And that makes all the difference.
And I think that there's nothing that I've experienced, no modality, more effective at moving us into our authentic human truth, getting to that place that Abraham Maslow called true self-actualization. Nothing is effective as Speaking Circles.
Thank you for hanging in and listening to this and watching this. And I hope you have some encouragement wherever you are on the path of owning your voice, of owning your essential boldness in the world. I hope that you've gotten something here to move at least just a little bit forward. And if there's anything I can do, anything we can do to support your path, please let me know. Thank you.